you know.
Feel that. Yeah, we'll probably do a short thingy today then.
I mean, probably.
Which is fine.
I don't have any side topics to talk about.
We can talk about this new anime I found.
Okay.
No, we're not going to talk about it. I'm just going to tell you the title of it, and then it's called I Want You to Make a Disgusted Face and Show Me Your Underwear.
Okay, I'm not that surprised that's what you're watching.
No, I didn't watch it. I just found it, and I'm like, wow, this is a real thing, huh? It's really weird.
It's not Star Wars fix, but I watched The Phantom Menace last night.
Oh my god, sure, go for it. I have not watched The Phantom Menace since 2001.
I'm not that surprised that's what you're...
Oh, are we live?
We are. Yeah, we've been live for a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, The Phantom Menace is a bad movie. I'll say that live.
So it didn't hold up?
I mean, the phrase holds up. I thought it was good in the first place. I mean, like, the thing that struck me most is just how much like of a missed opportunity it felt. I was just like, this could have been really good if they had just like taken the script as a first draft and like just torn it to shreds, built it back up, and then had someone else direct it. It could have been a good movie.
My friend and my two friends are dating. They always want to watch like all the Star Wars movies. Or like one friend wants to watch like the original trilogy, but then her boyfriend is like, nah, we have to watch all the Star Wars movies in order. But then he tries to quote all he doesn't try, he does. He quotes every single line in Phantom Menace as they say it or before they say it.
Well, especially considering the delivery of the lines in that movie is very bad. That would actually probably be the optimal way to watch that movie.
It does not make my friend very happy. He does it with the other movies too. But...
Oh, see, well, I heard people talk about it on a podcast, and I don't know if this is true, but that something like 80% of the lines were 80-yard after, and when you've got like younger actors being like, "Time to match my stilted delivery," it's like 10 times more stilted and bad.
Oh, I had not heard that.
Impressive.
Like, I was watching, what's it called? I think it was Jessica Jones, I think. And there was like or it might have been Defenders. There was something that was like, that was very clearly not recorded in the same place as all these other lines. Just like no background noise. It was weird. What episode are we on? 30?
I think so.
Yeah,
yes,
totally.
Okay. Shall I host?
Sure. It's going to be hard for me too.
Make Andre host. Okay. Consult my notes here. Okay. I've got a topic we can discuss after we get through some games.
Is it Star Wars Episode 1?
No.
Lame.
It's a video game topic.
Okay.
That is not Episode 1 Pod Racer.
Oh.
That is a good game, though.
It's too much fog. I played it with my friends who watched Star Wars movies, and oh my god, there's too much fog.
I haven't played it in several years, so maybe my memory of it is like a lot fonder than it really is, but
I
I
think it's
loved
on
that game.
GOG. It's on Good Old Games, I think.
Oh, actually, maybe I bought. Did I buy that? I probably bought that and didn't actually play it.
I played it on N64, so there was definitely fog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I played it when I was a kid. Still have the cart at my parents' house.
Okay.
Yep, I definitely did buy episode 1 Race Around GOG. Okay, I guess I'm gonna be playing that later.
Okay. Okay, let's get this started.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to episode 30 of Gaming Fix. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your girl's favorite ESRB rating. It's AO. Joined by Alex.
Hello.
And Allison.
Hello.
And myself. Because today we are a very small podcast.
We are a lean, mean startup podcasting machine.
Very lean. Please give us capital. Sam is spending time with his new lovely wife. Erica is exploring. She's probably sleeping like a sensible person at 6:40 a.m. in Japan, but she's off in Tokyo. And Pat, I don't know what Pat's doing, but I'll find his GPS coordinates and give it out to the internet so everyone can find him.
Yep, we'll tweet out his phone number.
Yep, I'm gonna dox Pat. That's this new podcast.
That's doxing our best boy.
Yes, best dox boy. So let's start off today and hear what people have been playing. Alex, what you got? Or watching or reading or
a bit of everything, but this time, if we're talking about actual playing, I have brought a video game. Is it a video game? I don't know. It's kind of a visual novel, kind of an interactive storybook. It's something that Allison brought months ago, I want to say.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, it's a little mobile game called Florence. And I don't know why it recently came back up on my radar, and I was like, oh, Allison was talking about that. And just decided, okay.
Allison literally talked about it.
She did, but it came up in normal life for some reason, and I was like, oh, right, I should actually do that. So I just did it, and it does not take
podcast life.
Outside of podcast life, yes. It does not take very long. So if you're looking for a very complete experience in less than an hour, Florence is a very good game for that. And it's also really good. I think it tells a super charming and super great story. And like, it's obviously a very personal story. I don't know if it was being drawn from the lives of those who wrote it and made it, but I would not be surprised with like how much charm and how many little things there are to it. Like it's very difficult to talk about because the entire thing is story, and it's also like 45 minutes. So
yeah, and I also think that people should experience a lot of the gameplay themselves, because a lot of the gameplay is really joined in with the story in nice ways.
So for those who are having trouble separating in their mind all the narrative phone games, which one is Florence again?
Did you want to?
What is the basic setup?
Okay, so you're playing as a lady named Florence Yun, I believe. And you are just living her everyday life where she's going to work and she's kind of like, this is boring. And then she's like, oh, I'm going to wake up and brush my teeth. So you brush her teeth for her and stuff like that. It's very slice of life in that sense. And you can tell she's just kind of getting frustrated with her own modern adult existence. And then she finds some memories from her childhood. And then she finds new friends and love and stuff like that. Like I really don't want to get too deep into the details because it is so story based and so short.
Okay. Right. Because I feel like a lot of the things that I could talk about how much I liked, it would be like, oh, well, I spoiled that really fun kind of discovery.
Yeah. Like I have a video going right now on the video version of the podcast, and I'm hesitant to even have that playing just because it shows a little bit, which is maybe more than you need. And For those watching the video version, don't worry, you won't get any of the dialogue. I changed it to Japanese, so Andre, you can
Oh,
watch
you're
it.
speed running it. Speed running it.
Exactly.
Somebody take that to SGDQ, GTQ.
That would be amazing.
AGDQ, yeah.
Speed run.
Yep, the Japanese version saves you a few frames. But
If you did a Tazbot run, it could be Florence and the Machine.
oh my god.
Oh my god! I kind of want it to be real. It's for that.
Wow. I had all these clever things to say, and I was gonna get to a Florence and the Machine joke, but you nailed it. But it's really good. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say other than it's really good and it's worth experiencing. In our chat, I mentioned that I was kind of surprised by the credits, and the entire time I really enjoyed the soundtrack that was playing in the background. And when the credits rolled and I saw the composer, I was like, oh, holy shit, that's why. And the composer was Kevin Penkin, who you may know as the composer for Made in Abyss.
Oh!
Yeah.
I did not know that they were the.
I actually didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, I went back after and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I totally see it. Like with the plinky pianos and the really pretty melodies and stuff like that. So it has a very, 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 very good soundtrack.
I think beyond the story and the gameplay, the aesthetic in general is really good.
The aesthetic is amazing.
It's a really lovely game.
Yeah, and it does some really cool stuff. Like, how do I talk about it without spoiling? Allison, you know the section in which you fall off of your bike and then everything is a little blurry and you have to pull things back together? Like that is really, really cool.
Yeah, and not to spoil it, but the way that they do conversations is really neat and really impactful.
Yes, especially when the conversations are less than friendly. Yeah,
I read a lot about this. Maybe not a lot, but I read several articles about this back when it came out, and now I've forgotten everything, so I just downloaded it. So I'll play that at some point.
Yeah, it's not a very large time commitment. I think there's an argument to be made that, $3 for 45 minutes, some people might not like it, but I would gladly do it again if the studio had made something similar.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where it doesn't feel like there's any excess. Like I feel like it would be a much worse game if they padded it for time in any way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
If it just had the exact same puzzle 5 times but with different configurations, like if you think like if the gameplay was like a BioShock hacking puzzle, then that would be really lame. But every puzzle is unique and everything is like tailor fit to what's happening in the story. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and I really hope that a lot of these games that are a little bit shorter but have a lot to do in terms of story, I hope that there are more of those games. We've seen that a little bit with some of the PC quote unquote walking sims, but it'd be nice to have more of these for these experiences for things like mobile too.
I completely agree. I can think of very few
Plus,
others.
as an adult,
yeah. Like the only other thing.
As an adult, I don't have much time. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just gonna say the only other game that comes to mind that's even similar would be something like maybe Year Walk, but
I heard that game was real weird.
Oh, it's extremely weird.
I don't think it's on Android, which bummed me out.
No, I played it on iPad, so I don't think it is on Android.
Because I tried to, Patrick brought it. Yeah, it's not. Patrick brought it up on Waypoint Radio somewhat recently, and so I was like, oh, let's see if that's on there yet, and it's not.
Yeah.
Still have no idea what's up with that game. Just that it's like a surprise, like scary thing, kind of. I don't know.
Yes. Florence is not. It is not scary in any way.
No.
No.
I don't know. Maybe you're just like in on the thing and you're keeping the scary part secret.
Yeah. But otherwise, other than Florence, the only thing I want to talk about is marginally video game related, and that is that Netflix put out a trailer today for the 2nd season of Castlevania. So I don't know.
Oh, you mean Vinny-Vania?
Pardon me.
Vinny-Vania.
Oh, Vinny-Vania. Yeah, of course.
It's just starring
as Simon Belmont and all the Belmonts.
I would watch that show like so fast if
I just had a really good idea. I had a really good idea.
Are you gonna pull out?
Don't say
Okay,
it.
okay,
You
okay.
might. You probably know what I'm thinking.
I'm probably, yeah. It's a good idea, but I don't know. Have either of you guys watched the original or the first season of Castlevania on Netflix?
It's weird to call it a season because it's like 4 episodes, but yeah,
Yeah, it is hard to call it a season. I thought it was really, really, really good.
it's like an OVA.
But yeah, I don't know. Trailer looks really good. It's playing in the background if you're watching the video version. It seems way darker than the first season, which was already real dark. So I don't know. Looking forward to it. It comes out in October.
Yeah, that the animation and stuff on that's real good. Man, they show a lot of like dismemberment and stuff.
Yes, there are many bodies impaled on spikes in that trailer.
Yeah. And that's like I get it. You want to be like dark and edgy. And I was like, man, why you gotta show so much dismemberment? Why is it gotta be so like gooey? Like a lot of like very liquidy and like a lot of blood. Like, yeah, I mean it's true. That's probably what it would look like, but still, come on.
I mean, it's the whole aesthetic of vampires, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. I've just been watching, like, I've been catching up on the Netflix stuff, and like normally it's just like a lot of punching guys, but every once in a while they get like a really like brutal, like this guy like dragged a knife across this guy's eyes, like stuck in his face and dragged it across his eyes. I'm like, that's too much. And why do you gotta show that?
What was that in?
Luke Cage season 2.
Oh, I have not yet watched that.
Neither have I.
Like a fight scene, and you just like, bah! And it's like a real quick shot, but like, and I was like playing my Switch at the time, and then I look up for like this fight scene. I'm like, oh god, oh no.
That sounds awful.
something in Jessica Jones season 2 where like Trish like drags her nails down a guy's face and just leaves like 4 big bloody claw marks. And that just I feel it, and it makes me like, I don't like it. I don't like that kind of stuff.
Well, the eye thing is especially just like I can't deal with it all.
No, yeah. But yeah, like there's, and then someone gets their arm chopped off in Defenders, and I was like, oh. I just don't do well with like dismemberment and like like anything that's not just like bop, you're dead like instantly. I'm like, oh, that would hurt.
Sorry, I like the description of bop.
Bop, you're dead.
You've been listening to a bit of Dave Lang, haven't you?
I aspire to be near Dave Lang professionally.
Said no one ever.
I don't want to be like Dave Lang. I just want to be near him. He inspires me. Allison.
Yes.
What have you been playing, watching, reading? I don't know. What have you been doing?
I've been playing a couple different things. First, this is kind of not quite video games, but the Binding of Isaac card game was recently, it's Kickstarter made a stupid amount of money, and I ended up doing that. So I'll get that card game because I've played a lot of the Binding of Isaac. So I'm probably gonna have to force my friends to play it with me, and I don't know what they're gonna think about it.
So
just be like,
who is this little naked boy?
Wait, so what is the card game? Like, what is the gameplay?
I'm not 100%. I think it sounds pretty similar to the actual game, mostly because you have to pick a different you pick a character card, and then you have a starting item, and then there's different loot you can get. There's monster cards, so and there's dice. I really don't know. I was just like, I like the Binding of Isaac. I've played so many hours of that game. I'll throw some money at it and then force my friends to play the game with the weird crying naked child. And I still remember when my sibling first saw me playing the game, and I had one of the upgrades that makes you instead of cry makes you urinate. And Lee was like, "What's this pee game you're playing?" I'm like, I don't know how to describe this game. It's just really good, and now Lee's getting their own copy of the card game. So,
have you finished a run of Binding of Isaac?
I finished it a few times. I haven't gotten a lot. I haven't gotten all of the. I've never actually unlocked everything, but I've gotten a couple. I've gotten a decent number of full runs of it. I feel like my skills in the game are. I have to have some pretty decent items to be able to do that, but I've done it.
Fair enough.
Because it gets pretty tricky near the end.
So is it? Mm-hmm. So it looks like it's 2-player or 4-player competitive. If you can get that many people.
Yeah, I think it's up to 4 people. Yeah. But I think that they've shown some of the gameplay off, but I haven't really watched much of it yet. But it also the Kickstarter also comes with a lot of cool different kind of giveaways and things. Like I'll be getting some stickers and a pin, so it just seems like it'll be a fun thing as a fan of the game.
Is Edmund McMillan involved with the card game?
I think so. I think he's pretty involved.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He ran the Kickstarter.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how much he did in the designing of the game, but I mean, beyond the being the person who made the Binding of Isaac in the first place. But
it's looking at stuff on the Kickstarter, it seems like he ran the Kickstarter, and like someone came to him about doing the game. Let's see, and then he was like, "No, I don't have any ideas for it." And then eventually he got sick, and then in a fever dream came up with the idea.
That sounds perfect.
The Binding of Isaac in general is just a giant fever dream, so I'm not terribly surprised.
That I played a lot of that game in like 2012, 2013.
That's about when I played a lot of it too. I played a lot of it when I was in college, and I have an extra hour to kill before my next class, and I have my laptop with me, so I'd play some Binding of Isaac. So yeah. But I've also since bought it on pretty much every platform that I own. So got the Switch version, I got it on Wii U. So if I pull out my Wii U, I can still play Binding of Isaac on it. But yeah, that was fun. I also played just a couple of hours of No Man's Sky with the new update. I don't know if it'll still be like a very long running game for me. I played about 10 hours of it back when it launched, and then haven't really played it since. So then I've picked it up, and I played a couple of hours today. And I feel like it's definitely, they've definitely added a lot, and they've definitely, I think, improved a lot of things. But it's not like it's a completely different game. So if you're somebody that tried it at first and it didn't really click, I mean, if all that you really wanted was, say, base building or the more kind of creative mode that they've added a while back, then it might be worth it. But it's still essentially No Man's Sky, for better or worse. But it's definitely really gorgeous. It's been fun to go around and see different planets. But I think the biggest thing that makes me not as into it as I probably would like to be is I just don't know about the procedural generation aspect, which is pretty much the game. But for example, when I first I started a brand new game for this, and it spawned me on a very, very high in radiation planet. So it was just like me trying to like desperately run back to my ship, like get less radiated, and then run out and get more supplies, and then run back. And then the next planet it had me go to was extremely cold. So I'm like, great, okay, can I just have one planet where it's pretty temperate and moderate? And I don't know. I think that the core idea of exploring planets is really interesting and something I really like, but I just don't know if I really gel with the procedural generation. And I feel like if this engine and this gameplay was in a more kind of, I don't want to say linear, but a more directed single player experience, I would have liked it a lot more. That said, I don't know if that's something they would have made, because a lot of the big initial hype of the game was the procedural generation, was this is the size of the universe and we've made all these planets and we haven't even seen it. So it's, I don't know. I feel like that's not the game that they wanted to make to make with a more directed single player experience. But at the same time, I'm like, man, if I could just have a game like this where I explored a bunch of planets, but it didn't immediately spawn me on a giant radiated ball of nothing. And then I feel like starting it again, also, you kind of see the little repetitive flaws too, where I went into a space station and I'm like, oh, this is the exact same layout of the space station as the other one I was in when I first pulled it up. That being said, they really have improved the game a lot, and they've really added a ton of stuff. For example, you can now change your character cosmetically. There's a lot more base building. I think they've streamlined some of the things, and from what I can tell, it seems like you have more of an inventory. At least I remember the last time I played, I kept running out of inventory space, and now I haven't been as much. So that, there's a lot of little quality of life improvements. But I don't know how much longer I'm going to be sticking with it.
Yeah. How are the clouds?
Well, I'm only playing on an original PS4, so maybe if I'm playing with the PS4 Pro, the clouds would have been a lot better. But they look good. The second planet I was on has rings, which looks really cool.
That's kind of neat, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it looks really, really good, and it's really nice to just kind of, like, I'm really looking forward to seeing if I can find some chill planets and just kind of wander around and explore, because I feel like they've really, there's a lot of really nice ways to explore. It's just, I just wish, and I saw in the Polygon review for this, they said something similar. There's something in between the normal mode, which is what I'm playing on now, and the creative mode, which has absolutely zero of the survival stuff. It was just kind of like, there's survival things, but you don't really need to worry about it too much. It's kind of chill. It's kind of a middle ground would be nice. So I don't know.
Kind of sounds like Minecraft in that respect. And similar to Minecraft, it seems like if you came onto a planet that wasn't just trying to actively kill you, it would be a really good podcast game.
Oh yeah, it was nice to listen to me.
Even if you're in like imminent danger of dying because the planet is cold or hot, like I had the same experience as Allison, where the first planet I was on was hostile in that it was very hot, and then I went to a new planet, and that planet was also hostile because it was like irradiated or whatever. I'm like, just give me like a normal, not evil planet. Because
which is why I think it would be a lot nicer if it was like a more directed experience, where it's like the first planet was pretty, not necessarily a tutorial planet, but a more, easy to like kind of find your bearings planet.
Yeah, like
and
that
then you kind of moved out.
That totally makes sense, because if it's your very first time playing the game and you're still learning the mechanics, but you're actively working against a timer now, that makes it so much more stressful.
Yeah. And like I would like it if that had happened to me, but also like I appreciate that like anything can happen. You can end up on like any kind
Yeah.
of planet, and it's just maybe not like the best for like getting on new players. I put in like 16 hours to in like the original launch version of No Man's Sky, and I had like a decent enough time, but I just got kind of bored with like the gameplay loop. Um,
Yeah, and
but
it's
it
a loop I
seems
wish I
like
liked more.
there's like I've talked about when Pat's talked about like stuff like Subnautica and other things where I'm like I'm not into like the make your own fun games, but I like the idea of No Man's Sky enough to just kind of like hang out for a while. Um, yeah, I want to get back into it, but then just those first two planets, I was like, and then I went to a space station and the guy was like, I'm gonna give you a multi-tool, but then I pushed the wrong button and then I got backed out of it, and then like he wouldn't offer it to me again, and I was like. So I don't know. I might just like restart again and hope to get a not bad planet. Uh, so that way I don't have to like worry too much about like okay I have to be like looking like one this planet is bullshit because it's all scorched, and two I have to be looking for like what is it, I can't even remember, is it sodium, maybe sodium for my
Yeah.
life support stuff. It's just very annoying.
Yeah, and I feel like they have at least from what I've seen, they've definitely simplified some of the resource gathering, or rather, you need resources, but it seems like it's a little bit easier to get them because I remember the first time I played, just like wandering around the planet, going, "Why can't I find the last bit of whatever I need so I can launch and leave this place?"
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's a gameplay loop I wish I really liked because the idea of kind of exploring around space is super appealing to me. But I do kind of I wish I could do that and have a little bit more of a directed objective, like
Well,
kind of like almost like an open world game where it's like you can do this, but you can kind of explore.
it sounds like once you get out, like once you finish like that kind of first area, like there is a story to follow.
Yeah, I think
It's
there's
like
some of
starting
it.
off, it's like, okay, like here's how the game works, here's what you're going to be doing. Because, like, in the first one, there was like, we go to the Atlas stations, and that was basically, and then you're on your way to the middle. But now it seems like there's actually like some sort of narrative to follow. It's just, it's not surfaced right away.
Hmm.
But yeah, I want to get back into that. But there's so many things to play and
There are
do.
so many things to play. And speaking of, we both have been playing a game called Octopath Traveler.
I beat that game, beaten air quotes.
Hmm.
I got credits to roll, meaning I beat chapter 4 for my first character,
Oh, sure.
Ophelia. So like yeah, I beat Alphen's chapter 4 before that, and then I beat uh, Ophelia's chapter 4 after that. Uh, I had there that game is kind of the same problem I had with Nino Kuni 2, where the game's pretty easy up until like the end, and then there's just like a weird difficulty spike where it's asking you to do things that the game doesn't prepare you for really before.
Mm.
Like,
And just like life.
yeah, basically. Um, okay, hey, congratulations, you graduated from high school. Now pay your taxes with no help. Uh, but yeah, it's like maybe partially because I didn't go and do like this, like the side dungeons. Like I missed out
Mm.
on like some strategery it was teaching me or something. But like like as I started to put together, I'm like, oh, okay, well if I use this ability and then this ability, then I'll be doing a lot of damage. And I put on like this like equipment, and then I'm doing like 16,000 damage instead of like capping out at 9,999. Which
Mm.
like because then I was doing like, oh, I'm doing like twice the damage I was before. Maybe I would have been able to beat it before. And so like when I came back to one of the bosses, who was like summoning stuff, in the fight. When I came back last night, I was able to beat that boss without them summoning anything because I was able to keep them like on a loop where I was like knocking them out before they were and keeping them out for like 2 turns instead of just one. So I kept them on a loop where they weren't able to summon anything and I was just doing a bunch of damage.
Yeah, the one thing I do like is that it feels like it's usually pretty easy to leave a boss fight and then come back. I mean, you have to like work your way back to it, but I had an issue where I was got to one of the it's still a fairly early boss. It was one of the chapter 2 bosses, and it wasn't particularly hard, but I was just had a really weird setup with my characters, and I didn't have really great coverage for the weaknesses, and I was having issues with not having enough items. So then I just went and did a couple of side quest things, and then came back with a better character lineup and better items, and was able to do it. So I feel like even when I get stuck in this game, which I'm still relatively early on, so I'm not what like stuck is in quotation marks, because it isn't a terribly hard game, but it's usually fairly easy to work your way out of that and get back. Mostly because also the fast travel it doesn't seem to really have many restrictions. I don't know if I've seen many. So if you're at a boss, or if you've saved right before a boss and you go, I need to do something else, it's pretty straightforward to just travel to a different city from it. So
the annoying thing is you have to you can't just fast travel back to that spot.
it would be really nice if you could, but I mean a lot of I haven't really been that annoyed with any of the I don't want to say dungeons because they're not really that level, but any of the lead up to the bosses isn't super. It's never super tedious. At least not that I've thought of.
Yeah, it gets more so later in the game.
Okay, good to know.
And it's just like the enemies have a lot more health and stuff like that. With that's standard JRPG stuff. But yeah, I wish the game did a better job of teaching you hey, you need to make use of these abilities, because I was able to pretty much just brute force my way through all the boss fights without even trying that hard. I think the only boss fight that I failed was my second boss fight of the game with Honey against her chapter 1 boss. And I only had 2 characters, but I was like, oh, okay, I guess this game's gonna be hard. And then it wasn't until I got to chapter 4, which was a bummer. But the credits are very cool, and I wish I want to see more games adapt the credits, or the style of credits that this game used.
Oh, I'm really excited about that actually. Yeah, I've really been enjoying my time with it though, mostly because I feel like the core gameplay has worked really well for me. It's not terribly hard, but I feel like there's enough strategy to it that especially if you want to, even if you're playing against a hard enemy, you can have enough strategy and okay, I want to get get any damage from them. So how do I strategize around that? So I feel like there's some fun in there, and I've also unlocked, I think, all but one of the jobs. So that adds a lot more coverage, which makes things, has been fun. And it's also fun to just mix and match the secondary skills and go, why can't I have 10 of these instead of just 4?
That's very annoying. I didn't realize until yesterday that if you change the secondary job, you still keep all the skills you unlocked.
Yep.
I did not realize that was a thing. I thought if I want to have the warrior skills, I need to keep the warrior subclass equipped, but apparently not.
It's to the point where I've actually wanted to give somebody one of the, I can't remember which one, but one of the cleric skills, But I didn't really need them to be the cleric, so I just gave them the cleric job for a little bit. Used a bunch of job points to get to that secondary skill, and then unequipped it.
I've got like, I think Ophelia, because I've just had her be the scholar the entire time, has like 20,000 job points or something at this point.
Yeah, Tressa
I think
has all the
Elfin does
job.
too.
Tressa is my first character, and she has all the job points right now. Yeah, but there's I feel like there's um, even if the difficulty curve could be better, which it sounds like it could be, I feel like the way that they unfold all the different all these different little things has been really nice. Just because I feel like it's kind of worked up to the strategy in a decent way, at least I feel like. Just because I feel like if all of the jobs had been unlocked at the start, all of the characters have been unlocked at the start, all the skills, all the secondary stuff, I'd be like, what's going on? How do I think of all this strategy? Whereas now I've been able to kind of unlock it as I go, and I feel like it's been nice, and it's not a terribly hard game, at least at the start, but at the same time, like, that's been kind of a relaxing game to especially play on the bus, where I can just go, oh, I'm just gonna get get a side quest done here on my way to work, or I haven't really had any need to do any serious grinding, but I'll just walk to the city and get a couple fights, and so I've really been enjoying it a lot.
So I haven't touched it since the demo, which remains the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, reading about it in the past, that developers and Square and everything, they've said that there's never going to be any DLC for it. They consider it a complete game. Do you think, like, especially Andre, because you finished it, or at least you finished one
I
one
finished
story.
2 of the 2 stories.
Sorry, 2 stories then. Having finished it, does the world feel like it's changed in any way, or could they like tell other side stories, or like would an Octopath Traveler 2 appeal to you, or is it too soon to say?
Uh, well, the problem is that like the stories, for the most part, are very personal. So there's not, at least some of them. I don't know. It's not like a lot of like, ooh, this is like a threat to the world or anything. So it's just, people are just hanging out, and like every chapter takes place in a different town, or like every character's chapter takes place in a different town. And like some of them, like 2 characters will go to like the same city for their story, but it, I really don't feel like I'm having impact on the world, because like the characters who appear in the story only appear in the story. They don't just appear in the town. And like that's kind of where some of my issue with the game comes from, is it just feels like they wrote these stories but they didn't write like the world at all, or they didn't like write the story into the world. They wrote the story and they wrote the world, and they're like, oh, we're going to put the story in the world, but the story is its like own thing. It's like an instance in the world or something.
Yeah, there's occasionally moments where you have impact if you like talk to the characters, but it's usually in a pretty superficial way. Like there's one town where there's a uh, character who is like kind of running the town with an iron fist, so to speak, and so you kind of run him out of town. And if you talk to people in town, they're like, well, he's gone, but I still got work to do. So it's like, okay, I guess, like,
Yeah,
it's
I don't.
still the same, like, which is kind of realistic in certain ways, but at the same time, it would be nice if you had a bit more of impact on it.
None of like the NPC dialogue has been like worth really reading for me. Occasionally, there's like a semi interesting side quest, but um, to me, like there was a dog. I sent you guys the picture of the dog, and you can inquire. Well, you use like a path action on the dog. You can steal from the dog. If you steal from that dog, ooh, I have words for you. He's a good boy. But yeah, it like my main problems with the game are it does not like set you up. It doesn't like ease you into like, okay, you have to like use some strategy in these battles. And then two, it feels like a lot of these stories are like half baked and like they're like the beginning and like they're like the beginning of like the the beginning, the beginning of the middle, and then like the very end. But there's
Mm.
Sure.
like a bunch of like missing parts, and like there's small enough stories that like, hey, whatever. But I'm 60 hours into this game, and I'm like, I I wish like there was more about these characters, because and like more interaction with them. And like I got like there was like some travel banter after I beat like my main character story, but there wasn't after I beat like Alphen's story. Like, okay, I guess Alphen just sucks. And like there was
It
like a little epilogue for Ophelia, and I don't know if that was because she was my main character or because that's like part of Ophelia's story, because I didn't get that for Alphen.
it would sure be nice. I like the interaction that exists. I think it's really pretty charming, but I wish that basically if you get party banter, you have to have the characters in your party at the time that you do it. So all the characters from what I understand, should have party banter for all the characters, but they all trigger at different points in the chapter, and I don't know. I think I saw that there was an order, but I'm not 100% sure. So I wished it would just act like all the characters were in your party, and you could just get all the travel banter, even if Primrose is hanging out at the inn. Like, just give me the travel banner for Primrose.
Yeah, because it goes from like, oh, these characters are in your party and you have to have them in your party for the travel banter, to this character is alone and they're doing this whole story by themselves, except in battles. And it's just very frustrating to me that, like, I don't know, it feels like the parts of the game, like the writing and the gameplay and the story, it feels weird to separate the writing and the story, but it feels like they're all like working separately. And then they're like,
Mm.
oh, right, we have to make a game. And then they put them all together. And they didn't really like think about, like, I don't know. RPGs have come a long way. And I would say that like RPGs didn't even need to come a long way. Like games like Chrono Trigger and like stuff like that, like do like the writing and the world building very well, and like the character interactions and stuff like that. But I feel like this game just kind of misses the mark on a lot of that stuff. Like it doesn't need to be some big like world-ending cataclysm that everyone's fighting against. It can be all these smaller stories, but like, hey, like if I've got, this one party that I like to use, maybe let me spend actual time with these characters and have them interact in the story, instead of just, oh, hey, I see you look sad. Sometimes I'm sad, but you should be happy, which is basically what travel banter is. Uh, and, like based on the travel banter, I want to get to know some of these characters and like see them interact more, but they don't give you that opportunity.
Yeah, I think I like it more than you do, but I do wish that there was more of it. What exists, I think, is really charming, and I really like that I do like the kind of smaller stakes and the more personal stories, and I don't really even mind that much. They're kind of all dealing with their own personal stories on their own, but at the same time, I just wish that there was a little bit more of that travel banter and a little bit more of that interaction.
Yeah. So for some reason, I'm going to keep plugging away at it, because I mean, I'm 60 hours in now. I might as well at least try and beat all the character stories. Except all the characters I have now are like, I think my next highest level character is like 38, maybe, and where like the four that are currently in my party are all like high 50s. And the suggested level for chapter 4 is 45, but I had to like level up a bit before I was like, oh, okay, now and like I did like a bunch of other stuff before I was like, oh, okay, now I can do this because that difficulty spike is wild.
Hmm. But with regards to the story and the writing and characters and everything like that, one thing that the internet is really good at is deconstructing a video game and like finding little secrets and then sharing that. Like, have you guys interacted with the community at all and kind of looked at the crowdsourced kind of, hey, look what I found kind of stuff?
A little
I
bit. When I'm at work and I'm thinking about the game, I go on the Octopath Traveler Reddit a little bit, and mostly kind of lurk around. And there's a little bit of that there, but it's I haven't seen too much that. Also, I'm trying to avoid spoilers, so uh,
like there was one bit of travel banter that I really liked and it's like, oh, I wish to do something with this, but they don't. And like if there's a so there is like a not even like a true ending, but there is like a final dungeon boss thing that you can do. Like what you have to like, I think you have to beat all the main characters' stories. All the main character, you have to beat all the characters' stories, and then complete like 2 side quests that are like multi-stage, and then you unlock some like secret dungeon and with like a
mhm.
hard boss. And you apparently need to use all the characters in like I think to beat the side quests or something. I don't know. Uh,
That sounds cumbersome.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll see. I I want to keep plugging away at it for now. I've got I've got a month left of summer, so I could beat it. We'll just see if I actually want to when that by that time rolls around, because we got Goku coming out in Dragon Ball Fighters. Any
Hey.
August. There, that one was for you, Alex.
Thank you very much. I'm glad we got it in. And I'll
Uh,
be talking about Danganronpa again soon, I'm sure.
I wait. Why? What? Oh, just cause I should play Danganronpa 2.
Or 3,
I, well, yeah, but I should play 2 first, right?
probably.
Uh, I started it, and then I went. I just played the first one. I don't have it in me to sit through another visual novel at the moment. But does anyone have anything else they want to talk about that they've played or anything? Because I've got a little topic of conversation, maybe.
Go for it. At least, how about you, Allison? Are you good with going for it?
I'm good with that. Let's find out what you've
Okay,
brought.
this story on what is the story on Polygon? Uh, Nickelodeon Kart Racers isn't the prettiest game, but it's captured our millennial hearts. Yeah, like I don't have any intention of playing Nickelodeon Kart Racer, but what game has captured your millennial heart? It's not the last quote from the article. Look, this appears to be a hurried tie-in, the sort of game you'd mysteriously find for sale at your grocery store a decade ago. And yet, despite our minds telling us to resist its trashy charms, our hearts scream yes.
So, to define this, is this something that isn't necessarily good, but just kind of speaks to us on a spiritual level about, like, I don't know,
Yes.
Doug?
Yeah, Doug, or just like I played a lot of tying games as a youth. Uh, I don't know, just what are those games that you're just like, I know this isn't good, or it doesn't have to be a game, but I know this isn't good, but for me, it speaks so directly to like my nostalgia or something that I'm
Oh,
interested in.
that's a
There
very good
was
question.
on N64. Well, I don't know about you guys, but we rented games all the time just
Hmm.
because buying them was just too expensive. And, if you're spending $80 Canadian on a game and it's terrible, not really worth it. So, one of the ones that we rented and that I thought was absolutely horrible, but I loved it, was this Rugrats kind of style. Like it's almost like a Mario Party game, but with like the Rugrats characters. So like
Oh.
there's like Reptar tiles and stuff like that, and something about that, even though it was awful, was incredibly charming to me.
There were two, I think I had Rugrats in Paris for the PS1. I think I had 2 Rugrats games. There were definitely 2. I might have rented Rugrats in Paris. I don't know. But I played that Rugrats game a lot. For me, like the Harry Potter games, at least like
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. 4 is bad, and then I never played 7 because I heard it was bad. But like, I don't know, just running around Hogwarts and like mixing potions and stuff. Because like they did like an open world Hogwarts, and that was real cool. Uh, I think those games hold up. Maybe they don't, but I think they're fine.
The weird.
Yeah, they're
Sorry,
very nostalgic.
I was gonna say, like, oddly, if I think back to being, let's say, somewhere between the ages of 11 and 14, a lot of the games that really would have spoken to me just on that level of being like, oh, this is terrible but charming and I love it, would have been on like Newgrounds.
That's actually what I was going to say. It's like a lot of flash games on like computer flash games.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I was thinking about being not necessarily good, but I played a lot of kind of questionable flash games when I was in uh, uh, middle high school,
Really.
mid 2000s. Um, like there was the website Postopia, which was all like post themed like games that were all just pure advertisements. But they had like a mini golf game that I played a lot of. And I was just thinking about the somebody brought up recently in my friend circle Homestar Runner stuff, and um, there was the text adventure Peasant's Quest, which
Oh
I
yeah.
really liked when I was in
There-
um,
There's like a
middle school.
Trogdor board game on Kickstarter.
There is.
I'm
Yep.
kind of considering getting it. You know, I don't know that who would play with me, but I have a lot of nostalgia for Homestar Runner, so that
Totally.
Peasant's Quest in particular was the one that was my fave. But
Did you also play Strong Bad's cool game for attractive people?
I never did actually.
It's pretty good, actually, if you're okay with like the kind of old style adventure game.
You know, I am, and I probably would be for Homestar Runner stuff, but
Um,
yeah, there's nothing more nostalgic and kind of bad than pretty bad flash games.
uh, so this Nickelodeon kart racer game comes out October 23rd, and so like despite looking bad, is there anything like current where you'd be like, this doesn't look very good, but I'm I'm into it? Like either something that exists, or is there something that could come out and be like, no matter how bad it was, you'd be like, okay, I can mess with this.
If they went back and they made an Angry Beavers game,
God,
that might pull me in.
I
Wait.
loved Angry Beavers when I was a kid.
Oh wait,
Loved them.
hold on, I wonder. Let's see.
But bear in mind, I haven't looked at this Nickelodeon game. I don't know what the roster is, so maybe
Yeah,
there are some
no.
Angry Beavers in there.
I'm trying to see. I'm trying to see.
There was an old Canadian television show, and I don't know if you guys ever had it. It was the first, as far as I know, it was the first ever fully CGI show. It was called Reboot.
Mhm.
And
Vaguely remember that, yeah.
yeah, if they made something, well, I should say there is a current version of Reboot that's airing right now, and apparently it's god awful and terrible. And it's like it's half live action and half CG, but the CG is worse than it was in the 90s. Anyways, if they went back to the original Reboot and finished that story because it left on a cliffhanger in like the late 90s, that would be pretty great.
You know, the thing that would probably do it for me would be if they did this for some of the old cartoons and things I watched. The one that I was thinking about the other day was that there were a couple of Sailor Moon games that never got released in the US. So if they released like a big Sailor Moon RPG nowadays and they localized it to the US, I would 100% play that entire thing, even if it was bad.
What if it was a Sailor Moon dancing game?
You know, I would play it. I would play it.
People would play that. Like, come on.
I would
Especially
play
Erica.
probably
Erica would
whatever.
love a rhythm game about Sailor Moon.
It just throw in a Hatsune Miku as well, and I'm in.
It's anime and rhythm games, all Erica's favorite things.
If they had the songs from the live action version of Sailor Moon, I would be thrilled.
Have you been following that saga, or did you read that piece, or was it Kotaku who did the piece on like finding
Oh
the
my
American
gosh.
Sailor Moon?
Yes, that was such a good piece.
Sorry,
If you
what
haven't
was
read
this
it,
piece?
there's a piece on Kotaku which is basically trying to
there was an American
Find,
pilot
yeah.
for before Sailor Moon came to the US, like Hasbro or something. It was like, we're just gonna make our own Sailor Moon. And it was like live action and animated. It was like basically it was live action teenagers and like their cat, but then like when action went down, it was like all like American style animation. It's like, I don't know, like He-Man, She-Ra kind of
I thought you
stuff.
meant
Like
I
Yeah.
thought you meant
not
like
like
Tom
directly,
and
but like
Jerry.
no, well, that'd be too old. But like that 80s, like late 80s, early 90s
Like
style animation.
Thundercats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think like the only thing that exists is like some clips from the intro or like the intros basically, but none of like the show, I think. I don't know. I didn't get to read the full thing. I saw some video though. Oh boy.
Yeah, I've watched the one proof of concept clip a couple of times, and it has a song that's very very cheesy, early '90s. It's great. I have a weird fondness for the Japanese live action Sailor Moon, which is from the early 2000s, and it's basically kind of very not quite Super Sentai, but kind of in that same vein. And it's very cheesy, but it's arguably my favorite version of Sailor Moon. So if they involve that if they bring anything of that over to the US, I'm buying it immediately.
What if there was a stage production of Sailor Moon similar to the stage productions of that bike anime and also Death Note?
There are 1,000 Sailor Moon live action shows. Like it's a
Okay,
thing. It's
I'm not
uh
surprised.
yeah, Sailor like it's called in a very it's shortened to Seramu, so it's like Sailor Moon musicals. And it's not just that there's one of them. There are like there are I don't even know how many. I'm trying to see if there's a number, but there's several, if not. Okay, there have been 31
Oh
musicals.
my god. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I thought I
Yeah,
was
it's
being more
it's
original.
it's a thing. The series consists of 31 musicals, which have had more than 800 performances, and they've been doing it pretty much uh, they've been doing it pretty much regularly since Sailor Moon was first a thing.
We stopped doing our monthly watching slash reading slash whatever. I think we might have to bring that back for a Sailor Moon musical.
I'm game. I'm game.
But Andre, did you have any properties or anything from your childhood that would just make you kind of, I don't know,
I,
like
I
lose
mean,
your
if
lose your
it,
shit ever so slightly?
I mean, anytime I see like Dragon Ball, I'm like, ooh.
It
But
is
then like most of the time, I haven't bought a Dragon Ball game in like a long time. Bought a Dragon Ball game except for Dragon Ball Fighters, because that game's real good. Because like I haven't been a fan of what they've done with the series since like the Budokai games. So if they put out like another Budokai game, I'd be like, oh yeah, we're at Tenkaichi, either one, because they were Budokai, then they became Tenkaichi. Uh, if they did another one of those, I'd be so stoked. Uh, just because like I really like those 3D fighting games. Um, let's see what else. If they did like anything with like Cartoon Network, I was way more into Cartoon Network than I was Nickelodeon. I liked Nickelodeon, but like Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Lab,
oh
uh,
sure,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
I have a hard time differentiating between the two because were all kind of consolidated in Canada. So we
Um,
like the same channel played Powerpuff Girls and Samurai Jack that also played Doug and Rocco's Modern Life.
that's just gotta keep them separate but equal.
Oh God.
Uh, but yeah, like if like I spent a lot of time. Like I didn't even think about this till just now. I spent a lot of time on like CartoonNetwork.com playing like the Flash games on there. Like they had some really elaborate like Courage the Cowardly Dog games. I think they were Courage the Cowardly Dog, or no, they were like a game. I don't know who you played, but you were on like these resort islands,
Oh my god, I remember that game.
and like they were like adventure games. You had to like, go around and like you were like talking to people and then like getting quests and then trading items to like NPCs.
Is it Lenny
I spent
Walkabout?
maybe, I don't know. I spent a lot of time playing those games. I don't know if I ever beat them because like they were so long, or they felt so long. I was bad at them. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I should go back. I don't know if those still exist. Huh.
More recently, I have a friend who played a ton of this Flash game for Adventure Time, which is basically a MOBA. It's like Dota for kids, and he said he loved playing it because the only people he would ever get matched against were like 10 years old, so he could just beat the shit out of them.
Guys, I found the very first Sailor Moon musical, and it's subtitled on YouTube. So,
All right.
Good. Wow. That's okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what game or show was upsetting? Cat Dog.
that is a weird show.
Upsetting though. Just conceptually, like it made you question your existence, or
It's just weird.
was Cat
like,
Dog also the one that I had I Am Cow?
No, that was like a Cartoon Network. There's I Am Weasel and Cow and Chicken.
Oh, Cow and Chicken, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, thank you.
Cow and Chicken has the episode where a bunch of lesbian bikers come through and they just all line up like goats. They're like, I don't know, they line up like side by side and then they just eat the carpet out of the home. It's a children's show. And they have lesbian bikers eating a literal carpet.
Man, they got away with some really salacious stuff in the 90s.
That they did.
Are we better for it? I don't know.
Pork butts and taters.
Oh my god.
The world may never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just, our millennial hearts. We are the future. So I was wondering how, just doing some market research for how we could capitalize, or how others can capitalize on our nostalgia. So Angry Beavers, Dragon Ball, and Sailor Moon. You heard it here first.
And make sure it uses cryptocurrency and the blockchain.
Yeah, and you put this in crippling debt.
Please.
All things millennials love. So if no one has anything else to share, speak now, forever hold your peace.
I think there's only one thing we can title this episode.
Which is
AAA.
okay. Fair enough.
Okay. Maybe I'm too sleepy. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this week's episode of Gaming Fix, episode 30. Please, I always forget to say this, but please comment. I don't know, comment, subscribe on iTunes, Google Play. It help us out. Please, thank you. You can find me on the internet at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Not on the internet. You can find me on Twitter at that. Nowhere else. Alex, where can people find you?
You can find me as well as some of our videos up at pornhub.com/users/coolslaw, COOLSL4W. And we have episode or two up of our podcast right there for you to view at any given time.
Oh God.
And Allison.
You can find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY, and I tend to post. I also have some other blog stuff that I'm doing, but it'll post there. So follow me on Twitter.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Erica, she's in Japan watching some wrestling, so I imagine her podcast, Tempered Expectations, will have an episode about like the G1 climax. I think they would have an episode either way, but they're at the last 3 days, so that's probably something you won't want to miss. That's Tempered Expectations. I don't know when that'll go up. I don't think they're on like a regular schedule. Plus, they're in Japan for another 2 weeks or something.
And I imagine in a few weeks when we get our good friend Sam back from America, he's going to be talking all about apple pie and shotguns and stuff like that. So
things New York is famous for.
Yep.
is the Big Apple.
We put cheese on their apple pies.
You know, I don't care for pie crust.
I've never had cheese on an apple pie, so I don't know.
Cheese whiz.
It's usually sliced cheese, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Usually people do like a slice of cheddar. This is a podcast topic. They've talked about this. Let's not go there.
All right, let's not double up the content.
I mean, this that was like years ago, but still. Yeah, that is going to do it for this episode. This has been your girl's favorite ESRB rating coming at you. Happy trails and have a good day. So long, everybody.
Bye.
Bayonara.